Hello, welcome back to Aubrey's Treat Me Royal. I am so excited to bring you part 2 for the minimizing damage when you are in braids. I hope you enjoyed that first part as well as you're going to enjoy these other 5 tips that I have. Let's start off with number 6, which really is an extension of the braid conversation that I had before in those 5 tips. One of them is to vet the braider well. And number one question, where does she actually work? Does she work in a salon setting? Are you going to someone's house? Usually the description of where the place is doesn't become apparent until you ride up in the hood and you're like, oh, this is not where I thought GPS was going to take me. However, those are important questions to ask before you actually book the appointment, and then you get the address and then you are surprised. This is important so you can prepare. I mean, you do want to know if you're going to be involved. There's some hustle and some tussling. Maybe you don't want to get involved in side chick drama, all of those things. So you need to be prepared of where you are actually going to be, your person. Safety is also an issue. And also so you can expect what kind of service that you can receive. Because sometimes it's stellar service. In some of these particular areas, that's okay. But we are not always privy to that information before we actually book our appointments. We can just hope that the reviews are all, pretty honest. So one of the things I'm just going to relate to you is a story time. This is my daughter's latest braid experience, which she overall, she had to put up with some things, but those braids, they were gorgeous. They are still in, looking good. However, here's the thing. So she got the braids done. They were knotless, the small, medium, I guess you call them medium. And she asked for them to be bra strap length. The braider proceeds to do them butt length because I guess that's what's popular. That's what she chose to do. You know what that does? That adds braid time. Nobody wants to sit longer than they have to. My daughter didn't know they were actually that long until she got up to go to the restroom. That's a whole nother story in itself, because guess what? She was told 7-8 hours into the service, by the time she asked to go to the restroom, that she could not use her restroom. Yeah, I know. Take a minute. Take a sip. Yeah. And so upon finding out she couldn't use the restroom and she had to go to the curb store around the corner, she was also asked to pay for half of her service before she left, which you can understand. I guess at this point she's almost, close to more than halfway done, so she wanted to make sure she didn't run off. But when she notices her braids are that long, she says, I asked for bra length, and the braider was like, what do you want me to do about it? Well, what could she do at that point? Because if she cut it, it wouldn't look right. So the extended time ended up being 14 hours. 14 hours for these braids to be done. So your girl ain't taking them out anytime soon. But it was unfortunate that, she had to, don't let me forget this. The girl wanted her to hold her neck back like this for an extended period of time. Keep your head like this. Move your head like this. I mean, who does that? That make the experience, and this is if you're a braider on here, make the experience comfortable for your clients, especially when this is a 14-hour service. Why wouldn't you allow someone to use your restroom? I mean, I don't know what happened. I don't know who spoiled it for the rest of us. But yeah. So that's why it's so important to vet where you're going, who your braider is, yada, yada, yada. That's a strong, strong tip, in my opinion. Excuse this dog. Huh, he trying to get in on my video. So the next tip is to make sure your braider can adjust for your hair density and your texture. So that means if you have finer hair, lower density, she needs to use less hair. Why is that important? Well, if you don't have a lot of hair, you probably don't need to be in braids. But if you so choose, then you want to keep what you have. If you add too much hair per density, per your square inches of hair, that could possibly put you in line for more damage, more hair loss, because the weight of that hair is pulling on those follicles. So someone that knows how to adjust for the hair that's in front of them is important, because that could save your hair possibly. All right, tip number 8. If you plan to keep your braids in longer than 6 weeks, I would even go so far as to say 4 weeks. If you plan to keep them in longer, get your perimeter, the first 2 braids around the perimeter, rebraided. Why is this important? Well, I can't tell you how many strands of hair with the bulb at the end that's been plucked out or on its last leg hanging from that bulb that I see once that hair starts to grow out. Of course, we see it in advance if the braids are already too tight. You see that within the next day if that hair has been pulled too tight. But as that hair starts to grow, you want to be able to get that redone so it can put less stress on your precious edges, honey. Unless, you're going to be looking for some edges on the black market. They are a precious commodity, and as we age, they don't come back as easily. Sometimes they don't come back at all. So these are the things that we absolutely want to protect, even in braid season, because they are, who doesn't want edges? Okay? So, along with that, when you get the braids done, ladies, let's not pull them up. Wear them down for at least as much as possible. That's my suggestion. The first thing we want to do is get a top knot, pull them back. And that's absolutely the worst thing that we can do for our edges, considering that we want to extend the life of them. Putting more stress on hair that's already stressed is going to hurry that process up of losing and actually maximize the damage we may have when we remove them. So we all don't know this, but I just want to make sure we understand it. Sometimes braiders think that because they braid tight that it's going to last longer. No, it doesn't. Let's not do that. If they already get started on your hair and you're having to do like this to hold the braid while they're braiding it, can you let them know that's too tight? That's too tight. Don't be afraid to speak up and advocate for yourself, because it's your head. And this is a temporary style. Remember, we are not wanting temporary styles to give us permanent issues. All right, here we come. Tip number 10. Tip number 10. It's okay to shampoo your braids. And more importantly, we're trying to shampoo our scalps. 2 to 3 weeks in, find you a shampoo or create your shampoo by putting it in a bottle with a nozzle that can go right to the scalp. One of the ones that I really like is Reboot by Naturally Drenched. It's already got the nozzle on it. It's fresh, it's refreshing, it does a good job of cleaning and clarifying that scalp, and without really roughing up your braids, you can clean your scalp. You can do it, ladies, and it really won't mess up your braids. I promise. I promise they won't. If they're put in well, it won't be an issue. And you can cleanse your scalp and have a fresh scalp, and it's so easy to do. And also, it's good to condition the hair. Conditioning the hair with a rinse out conditioner, we're not leaving that in. And leave that in for a few minutes, and then we go in and we can spray our hair with a nice leave-in conditioner. That will help mitigate some of the dryness that we typically experience when we are pulling out or removing the braids. All of that hair can feel so dry and dehydrated, so it could take a while to get rehydrated after that. But if we do these steps in between, we could perhaps make it so much easier for us in the long term. So I hope that these tips will help you to have minimal damage. And, you know, don't forget to give your hair that royal treatment after you remove those braids, because the deep conditioning, your protein treatments, all of those things are just as important before. They are also important after. And this is the time that you're going to get your trim. So all of those split ends that probably have happened, and all of the thinning ends that may have happened as well, this is the time that those things can be addressed easily. And give your hair a break. You were in the braids for a season, stay out of them for a season. That way we can keep the hair on our heads nice and healthy. So I hope these tips have really given you something to think about, something that you didn't know. So give me a thumbs up. Let me know that this was helpful.